Hi there. Since we're officially getting into Jujutsu Kaisen Shibuya Incident in proper, I figure we might start doing an episode a week so that we can cover all the various things that happened, some of the changes that were made by Mappa, and some of the cooler elements of the story in more detail. So with that, I think today we're going to break down episode 32, the Shibuya Incident. So in terms of today's episode, it only focused on two in particular storylines. It focused on the storyline following Mei Mei and Yuji as they are deployed to the train station, which is where a second veil has popped up, and they attempt to rescue both civilians and deal with that veil. It also deals with the beginnings of the trap laid for Satoru Gojo, luring him deeper into Shibuya Station, as well as the actual triggering of said trap, forcing him into an environment with a bunch of regular humans. Of the two of those, it focused much more highly on Yuji and Mei Mei. So with that, we got to see them. We got a little bit more of an explanation on Mei's cursed ability. We got to see Yuji kind of taking a bit more charge here. And of course, something this episode really focused on was his battle against the Grasshopper Curse, showcasing his growth as a sorcerer and really just how strong he has become in general. On the flip side, we got to see... we got to see our Freeman antagonists for the next episode, because there is more than that, but they won't arrive until at least the second half of next episode. And with that, it was interesting. We got to see a little bit of the battle to come, but not very much. So, how was this episode in total, especially when compared to the manga chapters it was adapting? In short, not good. This episode was disappointing for 3 reasons. One was the decision that the section where Yuji fights the Grasshopper Curse is not that long in the manga, at all. At best, it's maybe a chapter and a half. I don't even think it's that long. To stretch it out to half of this episode was ridiculous. It's too long. The whole point of that fight is just how quickly Yuji neutralized the Grasshopper Curse. A grade 1, or at least semi-grade 1 curse, was taken down by him within only a minute and a half. The anime makes that fight way too long, and it may have been a little too difficult for Yuji. In the end, I think it was still okay-ish, it was just way too long. Its greater failing was that it didn't do the thing that it was originally supposed to explain, which was how the curtain system works. See, the barriers that have erected around that particular train station are the same ones that are around Shibuya, i.e. they're tied to that weird-looking nail thing on the ground. That's why smashing it was important. That's not actually shown in the episode, nor is it explained verbally like it is in the manga. I actually watched this with some people, and they straight up didn't pick up on that, and I had to explain it to them. That's a very important part, and unless they feel like backtracking again when that's going to be more important later, that's a significant failing. I suppose the last failing of this episode is just where it decided to put its focus on. Not only was Yuji versus the Grasshopper Curse the main event, which it shouldn't have been, but we got so little of Gojo versus the Disaster Curses in Choso that, honestly, I'm surprised they put any of it in this. Yes, that section is not the longest, but I honestly thought if they were going to expand anything, it would have been that fight. So I thought Yuji's section would have been shorter, like it was originally, and we would have gotten more of an expanded fight between the Disaster Curses and Gojo, because why wouldn't you focus on that rather than the Grasshopper Curse? But they didn't, and as such, I think the episode definitely suffered a failing. The only thing that's good in its point is that it did do a decent job of explaining at least what the plan for the trap is. I do at least have some hope for next week's episode, as it does appear that we're going to be getting the awesome battle of Gojo versus the Disaster Curses, and then ultimately what will happen with the trap will happen next week. In terms of this, I think it's very odd that, especially because of how much the manga has blown up right now due to some other things I've already covered on the channel, that this feels oddly paced. Either the synchronicity was off, or perhaps otherwise, but it feels like this week's manga chapter was supposed to be tied in with next week's chapter, i.e. Gojo disappearing, being a factor in both of them. But either way, I do have high hopes for next week. I think we're going to get an awesome fight. I think we'll get an awesome scene. A couple of awesome scenes, actually. And it will be a good pickup for the Shibuya Incident, even though its official start wasn't that great.